Welcome everyone to another video. This one's pretty special because this is the very first one where we have a subscriber that has sent me a video so I can analyze it and help them fix the problem that they've been struggling with, which sounds like it's been quite a long time. So this is a video of their dog anytime, well, let me just read what they said. And Christine, thank you for sending this. So it says, this is our 8-year-old golden retriever. In this video, he has a delayed reaction because normally he's reactive immediately. He's been doing this for as long as we can remember. Any TV show or commercial that includes an animal or anything animated, it's out of control. We have tried to correct it, but we are at a loss. Please help and thank you. So Christine, again, thank you for sending this. This is something that there's going to be other people out there. I told you in my response that it made me giggle because we had a Rottweiler where one time I was watching a hunting show and there was a bear that ended up taking off and our Rottweiler slammed the TV. And I told her, I said it happened once. And it's because obviously I knew how to fix it. But it just made me giggle because I know there's going to be a lot of other people out there that struggle with different things like this as well. So what I want to do is I want to first talk about why it is he's doing what he's doing. And then I'm going to play the video and it's just going to kind of loop over and over and over. And we're going to talk about what I see and ultimately how you're going to fix it. So the thing is for whatever reason, your dog is perceiving those things on the TV as threats. It could be more of a confusion. It could be whatever it is. But some point in its life, it sounds to me like it's been happening pretty much its whole life. So at some point in time, there was a situation that happened on the TV that weirded your dog out. And in that moment, your dog had 4 choices to choose: avoidance, submission, fight, or flight. Avoidance is when they turn their head and look away and say you're not there. Submission is when they lower down, maybe roll over, saying I submit to your authority. Then you have flight, which is when they turn tail and run. And then you have fight, which is any form of aggression: barking, growling, showing of teeth, nipping or biting. So your dog is choosing the aspect of fight because for whatever reason, its nerve structure said that what was going on in the TV is a threat. Now, I will say this, sometimes dogs can't quite figure out what's going on or what's normal. So to give you a quick example, when I did Schutzhund and we had our Schutzhund dogs, so our Rottweilers and Shepherds and stuff like that, the rule was for our children is that they were never allowed to wrestle in the same room as the dogs unless me or my wife were there. And the reason why is because a dog has a hard time understanding what it is they're doing. They don't have the ability to reason that they're just playing. And it can weird a dog out, and actually because it's part of the pack that's doing it, the dog doesn't quite know which person to start to support, and it can turn into a big problem. So in this instance, you're watching TV, and I'm gonna go ahead and start playing it, and I'm gonna start analyzing what it is I see in your dog, and then again, how it is we're gonna fix it. So let's get going in this. So right now, he's obviously engaged in the TV. So he's already mentally wrong because the body always follows the brain. Now you have the barking and him kind of jumping up. And if you'll notice on the screen, there was commotion and noise, and then the characters started to run. And that creates chase. So like right here, you'll watch. They're gonna turn tail and they're gonna run, which also shows the dog that what he's doing is actually chasing them away. And so because there is no real threat, it's from a TV, but your dog thinks it's real. He believes that it's the barking, it's running up to it that is actually keeping him safe. So I'm gonna go ahead and pause it here real quick. So what we wanna do in fixing that is I wanna explain communication to a dog and how dogs correct each other for when they live in the same pack and they do something that they shouldn't do. And what that comes down to is verbal and physical. The verbal aspect is the barking and the growling, and dogs will whine as well. That's part of communication. But when you end up having them making corrections, so the bark and the growl, those are warnings. The actual correction that a dog will give another dog is either going to be with their body by slamming into them or something like that. And then you have the action of bite. So using the mouth. Now dogs communicate to each other perfectly. It's very black and white, and they never miscommunicate. We may not always understand what's going on, but the dogs know exactly what's going on between each other. So if your dog is doing this, believing that it's going to keep him safe, you need to learn how to, and I'm going to show you how to communicate to him in a way that he understands and respects that this behavior isn't acceptable through a type of physical correction. Now, what I'm going to recommend is that you use a remote. So the electric collar, some people are either completely 100% on board, and some people are completely 100% against it. I will tell you, in my 23 years with over 5,000 dogs trained, this is the best way to be able to communicate to your dog at a distance. And on top of it, because this falls into the area of stop-it behavior, and the generalized list is barking, digging, jumping on furniture, chewing on stuff they shouldn't, getting into garbage, feeding on the countertops, chasing other animals. We want to be able to have the ability to have an extension of our hand to be able to make a correction at a distance that's just enough that your dog wants to avoid it. Now, the important part of using something like this starts with purchasing one. You do want to get a really good one. As far as value for the quality, I recommend the Dogtra Arc, which is what this is. Dogtra is the brand, Arc is the model. And I'm not sponsored by Dogtra, but this is what I've been using as long as I can remember. Once it came out, this has been the collar for me for any dog above basically 30 pounds. So I do recommend that you get one of these and that you put it on him. Now, when you put it on, you do want it snug. You want it snug enough to where these are actually making contact with the skin as much as possible. So when you put it on, we put it on the smallest part of the neck, which is directly behind the head. And we want this to kind of work. We want to help work it into the hair. So once it's on the dog and we have it snug, we kind of remove what hair has been laying underneath it, and we kind of want to work it in. Now, when we introduce it to our dog for the first time, this is super, super important. We always start off at the lowest level. So this goes from 0 to 127, but we always start off at the lowest level. And I do everything by 5s on this collar specifically. So I would start at a 5 and I would press the button and release it. If I don't see a change in my dog, so the dog that I have it on, if I press it and they are just continuing doing what they're doing, then I'm going to then up it another 5. And I'm going to do it until I press that button, 1001 release, which is the continuous button. It's not the nick, it's the continuous. I'm going to press it, 1001 and release. If I see the dog do this, and they look, so say that this part of the collar is over here on the neck, if they look like this, and they're kind of like, what was that? I know that that was the very first time they felt it. And that is actually the level I'm going to start on. And so how it works is this, and then I'm going to go ahead and play the video here real quick. So when it gets back to him just laying there, right here, I know that he's getting ready to go. He's already mentally wrong, but I'm not going to correct him just yet for the first time. Right there is when I would have corrected him. The minute he stood up and started towards the TV, I would have hit 1001 release. Now, I'm pausing it. Now, if he was to, because of a possible adrenaline rush, which means that his pain tolerance is going to go up a little bit, if you press it for that 1 second and he doesn't stop or react to it, then you want to that's when you hold the button down and you start to slowly turn it up. And you do it slow, and what's going to happen is that all of a sudden he's going to go from barking to barking to barking to, hey, there's that feeling again. And the minute he acknowledges that, you let go of the button. Now that is you want to look at that level, and that is more than likely the level that you are going to start with or continue with when he is in the moment of going after the TV or the characters on the TV. So now our goal is to get him to stop completely. So that way it doesn't matter what's going on the TV, he is not going to do this anymore, which means that we need to find the level of correction that's just enough that he wants to avoid. Because there is a level that will nag him, and it may get him to stop in the moment. But what we want is we want for him to start to associate that stimulation happening every time he chooses the action of fight. And so what we want to do is we want to slowly up that level. And people say, well, when do I know to stop? Well, if you correct your dog and he stops and he doesn't do it for the whole rest of the movie, that is the level of correction that he has deemed necessary to make him want to avoid it, because he's showing you, I associate this stimulation with the action. It's literally no different than we can tell our children till we're blue in the face, don't touch the wood stove until they touch the wood stove. Or if you've ever touched an electric fence, you're not going to touch a fence that looks like an electric fence again unless you know it's completely off. Even then, you may be still timid to touch it because you're associating the stimulation with the action and object. And a dog is going to do the same thing. So when your dog starts that motion towards the TV, that's the minute you hit the button for 1001 and release. And if he stops for the whole rest of the movie, that is your level. And that is probably the level that you're just going to make sure to be on, because the more you watch and the more he's avoiding, just know there may be a time or a situation or a show you're watching where he's like, I'm going to test it. You do have to be ready for it. And so I would recommend, he's 8 right now, I believe, 8 right now, but I would recommend that you do this plan on doing this and being ready for 4 or 5 months, if not just a little bit longer. It depends on your dog itself. So, and how often he's being corrected for doing this. But our goal is to always be able to get away from the correction. And that's why we want to find the level that's just enough that they want to avoid. So therefore, they're avoiding that action in the future, which means we are not correcting them. Now, I am going to cover real quick do's and don'ts of this collar. The last thing you want to do is teach your dog to be collar smart, which means that sometimes you forget and now he's getting away with the action, and then you go get the collar, put it on, and he starts to realize, oh, when I feel this collar on my neck, now I know I can't do it. You'll never get away from the collar if you do that. So make sure to be consistent with this. Also, because it is on snug, don't have it in one spot longer than 8 hours. You might think, well, I'm only going to have it on him when we watch TV, and that's totally fine. This is what you asked for help for. So before you watch a movie, just put it on him. But just so you know, you can't leave it on him all day long in one spot. Once the 8 hours is up, you want to switch it or just kind of rotate it to a different part of the neck, and then the 8 hours starts over. So I hope that this is able to help you out. I hope that it makes sense. I do want to watch it one more time and speak to it, just because I think it's kind of funny. I know it's not funny for you guys, but in my line of work, there's things that dogs do that are so much worse, but at the same time, you want peace in your household. And so I totally get it. My dogs wouldn't be allowed to do this either. There's going to be other people that they would think that it's cute, and they probably take videos of it and put it up on some of their social media, and everybody laughs at it. So to each their own. And one other thing I wanted to say is that you're going to have a whole lot of people giving you different advice in the comments, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with them giving advice. There's things out there where you could use a rattle can, you could use water, you could do all stuff. You said that you've tried all kinds of things and haven't been able to stop it. I want you to know this is how you stop it. If it didn't work, I wouldn't tell you about it. So if you have any questions about when you do get something like this or get this one and you go to use it and you have questions, because it is important, we're using physical corrections, we want to do it right. please let me know. I want to help you as much as possible to have the success that it is you're looking for. And for everybody else out there watching, thanks again for watching. Hopefully that you learned something from this as well. And again, enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks and bye.